What's going on, gamers? We got to react here to Dreamcast guy about Xbox is running out of money. Even PlayStation 5 can't save them. That's absolutely funny. Here's the thing. So I did watch the video so that I can see what the hell is going on. I was going to just straight up react to it, but I didn't. Because that's what I usually do. By the way, all my stuff's on the fly. And he has some good points here, actually. It's not one of those just beating down Xbox videos. It's a mix of the typical Dreamcast guy stuff, but with some actual concerns. And that is the developers with Microsoft are kind of bankrupt in a way. And they rely off of their funding, but their games are not doing well, even on other consoles. Like when you think about Outer Worlds 2, Avowed, Doom the Dark Ages, I mean, Oblivion Remaster, which probably did better than them. Grounded, Pentiment, Kepler, like they're not making any money. Imagine if they were actually a developer doing that. I'd probably have to shut down or get rid of some people. It seems like every franchise that is joining Microsoft, including Bethesda, and then you see with Activision, they're losing money and everything is going down when it comes to metrics. We've talked about this before, but now we're getting results about this. So his headline, Xbox is running out of money, is more like developers are not making the profit. And then they put the 30% profit margin on top of that in front of them, or if they say somewhat close to that, which is kind of like a boot on your face because that's impossible. We'll see that in this video because even Netflix didn't even hit that yet. Where they're at even now. And I mean, the closest you see the profit margins that high are Nintendo, and even 30%, no. It's like, so why are you doing that? You're just making everything ridiculous. The morale will be very low, and people will feel pressured in the wrong way. So let's get into this. Let me know what you guys think. Here we go.
Hey there, gamers. Dreamcast Guy here. Today we're talking about Xbox because they just did a very deep dive interview that I think they said stuff they shouldn't have said. Basically saying that the entire Xbox brand is just dead, and even going third party isn't actually going to save it. Now, this is from the people at Obsidian. Obsidian Games is pretty much the only Xbox studio that's really putting stuff out. You could talk about Hellblade or Gears of War or Halo and stuff, but really, who's putting out the actual games?
What's Bethesda?
Games like Pentiment, Grounded, Outer Worlds, right? They're putting out games. Avowed. Obsidian is the only people making Xbox games. And
you know what's so funny that he says that? They used to be one company, right? And then when you think about it, the company that was originally wholly Bethesda is now doing and making most of the content for Xbox that they monopolized for. That is kind of interesting. But all of them are tanking down, though. Even Hellblade, what did that sell? Hellblade 2, nothing. So it's like, where are they getting the money from? They kind of have to like be underneath them on some type of leash and get that profit to make some, not profit, but get the money to make something, and the results are not that good. And then that just gives you the idea of why sometimes they shut down. And it's like, yeah, I mean, you should have never took that deal. That's what it's just heading like, and it's not good.
just did a very long Bloomberg interview where they straight up said that it just doesn't work. At this point, nobody's buying Xbox games. Even when you put Xbox games onto other platforms, they seem to bomb. It's a very bad predicament that I think still spells there's not only not going to be a next-gen Xbox, I don't even think there's going to be a third-party Xbox soon. But let me explain, because there is a lot to go through. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So, there is something very strange about the Xbox time period, because we are in this era where games are coming out. Like High on Life 2 is technically an Xbox game. I mean, isn't that one of their studios? You are getting stuff occasionally. Avowed came out last year, although nobody really cares about it. Why is that coming soon to Game Pass when it came out forever ago? But
yeah, it's
my
always
point
weird.
is the fact that just in general, it feels like we're now in this era of negative hype. People are actually so anti-Xbox that even a lot of the developers and stuff don't want to be associated with the brand.
True.
Like, consider the fact that during the era of Xbox One versus PlayStation 4, of course the PS4 completely slaughtered the Xbox. But last gen, it did feel like whether games were good or whether games were bad, people like Sony and Microsoft, they would be very clear about their successes, about their failures. When a game like Hi-Fi Rush bombed, Sony would talk about it. When Xbox came out with something that was a huge, huge success, they would talk about it. Whereas now it feels like there's this secrecy. Xbox is not talking sales numbers. They don't really report anything. And it seems like, honestly, even their fans at this point just don't want to talk Xbox. There was a report that came out from the Game Developers Conference that nobody wants to make Xbox games.
Yeah.
They want to make PC games. They, of course, want to make PlayStation 5 games, and people are excited about the Nintendo Switch too. Nobody cares at all about Xbox. Now, truly let this sink in. These people are the people making games. This is the entirety of it. You know, the old Xbox got no games. This is it, baby. This is literally the nail in the coffin to prove that Xbox as a brand is never, ever coming back. But even let's talk about this.
He's so funny with that. So here's my thing. It's like, I want to cover what he was saying earlier. Like, they already had a report saying that the Magnus may get delayed or it may be late 2027. Nowhere does it say that it's getting canceled. I get what Dreamcast guy is saying. He's thinking that even past all that, it doesn't matter. He thinks Microsoft's going to can it and cancel it, or maybe that's what he wants to see. I don't know, but they don't really have to. So that's my thing about that. And as far as like nobody wanting to develop for it, well, you're not selling anything. You killed your market. There's no physical media either. So it's like, yeah, and they don't want to do Play Anywhere and lose sales on PC when they can just go to Steam and not have to deal with all that. But sometimes that paycheck may be good enough. But then Microsoft starts looking at it and they're like, how many times are we going to do this to cover you? Because it's just not working. And we have to pay now to pay for sales on PC. You will wonder when that patience meter fills and they just say, screw it, I'm tired of this. Outside of maybe being a third-party publisher, which is their saving grace. I do kind of wonder about that sometimes.
Fiscally, right? Okay, maybe Xbox console sales are down. Nobody's buying Xbox controllers. Nobody's subscribing to Game Pass. Maybe they could bounce back next generation. Well, apparently not. So in this interview, this is the people at the top of Obsidian Entertainment. Apparently, Grounded 2 sold good. Avowed and Outer Worlds 2 completely bombed. They spent 6 years on each, and they sold maybe 10,000 copies. I mean, these were catastrophic, hole in the smoldering ground, crater bad sales. Josh Schroer says, we did make a mistake. It's not to release 3 games in the same year. It's the results of things going wrong. Spacing these releases.
You guys know what I mean, like certain media press, certain political comments, certain stupidity that was non-gaming related should have not been involved into this, on top of what we were talking about before, how everything is tanking there and being rushed out. And you see a lot of this AI stuff, and it's like, see, all this combination together, it's just hurting gaming.
Helps the company manage its resources and not burn everybody out. Now, here's something that came out to me like a laser beam. There have been multiple leaks that Amy Hood and a lot of the people at Microsoft, they've put an impossible requirement onto Xbox Game Studios, which is a 30% profit margin. Now, this is insane. This number is enormous. I mean, 30% profit margin. When this got leaked, a lot of Xbox people actually came out. Like, all the Xbox fanboys said this number is a lie. Because if this number was true, 30% profit margin, this is the death of Xbox.
It's impossible.
Because nobody ever even gets close to a 30% profit margin. I want to actually show you something, right? Here's the profit margin of Netflix. Netflix, one of the most profitable brands on the planet, right? You can see up here, they're making $45 billion just this recent quarter. But look what their profit margins were, right? Look at this down here. This was a very famous thing for a long time. They were basically around a 2 to 3% profit margin for years and years and years and years. Now, this seems psycho. Why would you have such a tiny profit margin? Well, it's because they were trying to boost their revenue, their stock price, right? All right, if we make, $16 billion in revenue, we want to put that much into our product. So you can see here they would spend like $15 billion making shows if they made $16 billion. It's to increase the company value, and it paid off more and more and more. So we got to the point where they're having like an 18% profit, 20% profit. Even now, one of the biggest, most powerful media companies on the planet is a 24% profit margin.
So did you see what he just said and how much they're actually spending to keep that there? But they're maintaining, but look how much subs they need. This is where you realize that the Xbox setup and ecosystem is impossible and an insane major sinkhole. And they spent like $70 billion on Activision. They ain't getting nowhere near those Netflix subs. You see what I mean? You've been lied to. Yeah. You see? And when you think about what Netflix was doing in 2012, 2014, 2016, their sub base was still higher than the Game Pass. It was still at 90 million or 100 million. They were, they were trying to build it up, and it kept on building up, and they had a progressive rate. But look how low that was. How the hell is Xbox going to get a 30% profit margin? That's absolutely insane. That's psycho stuff. That's like communism boot on your face, impossible job. That cannot happen. And to put that type of pressure when it's impossible does not make any sense logically. And I don't understand, like, from a neutral standpoint, just looking at anybody else trying the same thing in the same position, why would you do that? Why would you even bring that up to lower somebody's morale like that and like kind of make it seem like that's impossible? Like who are you to do that? You're not Nintendo. You're not even PlayStation. You know what I mean? Like in any of those spectrums. So how are you going to get that type of profit margin? It's not possible. Not even 25% is even possible because you're not even getting 20. Or would they get like 12% or something? You see what I mean? It's like, no, dude, you gonna have to be selling every game you drop on PlayStation, Nintendo, and Steam. It better be selling 15, 20 million copies. You see what I mean? You better be dominating. It's like, no, you ain't doing that. That's what I'm saying. Nintendo was the closest to do that because they do those numbers only on their console. Some games 30, 40, 50 million, and they're not hitting 30. It's like, that's how tough it is. And they sell their consoles at a profit. So whoever came up with this idea, this is what I mean. Like, you start to question the leadership over in the Microsoft world. It's just gone haywire, unhinged.
Somehow, I don't know how, they want Xbox to be more profitable than Netflix. And the reason I'm making that comparison is because clearly that's their vision, right? The whole idea of Game Pass was instead of having the typical big box profit, instead of saying, hey, here's Ghost of Yotei, a $70 game, you buy it, you play it on your $500 console with your $80 controller, right? All of that is profit, profit, profit. Their goal is, okay, we're going to sell you a $250 Xbox Series S, at launch anyways, back when they were like $300, and then you pay $20 a month to play these games. Everybody subscribes to the service, everybody wins. But now Game Pass is $30 a pop, the Xbox is $800 a pop, and the controllers, I mean, they're like $1 million. Who cares, right? This is basically just psychopathically bad. But I saw everybody is freaking out about this interview on Reddit. I mean, the Games Reddit, the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, the Xbox subreddit. Look at this. I'm surprised an Xbox studio head was able to be so open and candid. It's a nice change of pace. Xbox's whole thing has been ignore our studios and hope they make games for the last decade. So I'd be surprised if anyone the higher up even knew this interview was happening. Now, it is interesting because this interview really does talk to everybody up and down the ladder, from the heads of the studios to the creative leads to everything. And everybody.
Okay, here's the thing. Amy actually made a good comment. What they're saying is though you could do those interviews, but they're over here like memory department, DRAM, you know what I mean? NAND SSD, GPU prices, stocks, market cap, AI, like that's what the whole of Microsoft, like, that's what they're interested in. They're not looking at that little interview. In a way, I know what they mean. That's something Phil Spencer would look at. Then he probably answers certain people, maybe Amy Hood or something. You know what I mean? In that sense, it is kind of true. They kind of don't care about Xbox. To them, it's irrelevant, and it's only alive because Phil Spencer is fighting for it. That's what I think. You know what I mean? Because it's like, they just don't care. What is that really doing for them? What are they going to show in the fiscal results? No, it's going to be like what they did. They blamed the Xbox division, right? They started blaming it. They started like saying things about it like they don't want it. But there's like this hard fight for it to stay alive. They don't care because they're not going to be showing no 20 billion profit revenue or something like that from the Xbox. Like, they ain't never going to see that. No, it's going to be from Windows and all that other stuff. Though Windows is in a bad position. So when you really think about that type of comment, there is some ground to that. And that's what kind of sucks. Whereas like when you think about PlayStation, you think about Nintendo, you think about Steam, and you ask that company, if something happens, that whole company's looking. In the Microsoft world, it's not like that. Because it's not what they're based off of, wholly. You see what I'm saying? Like that has to be evaluated because it matters.
Basically saying Xbox has screwed us. Now, I will admit that this comment here roasts me perfectly because I have always been a big believer of let the people make what they want. If you want to make a big, crazy, cool RPG and have crazy, weird crafting systems, I really don't like crafting systems, but if that's your perfect
I
game,
understand.
make your perfect game. You want to make a weird brawler with too many cutscenes, make your perfect game. And it seemed like everybody basically said that this is the good approach, right? This is the idea.
It's a good
Devs are
statement.
flawless heroes, and anybody trying to manage them are evil money men. So that could be better than letting them go on their own without supervision. So it's strange that Xbox hasn't been pumping out.
This person understands development, creation, art, poetry. It's like this, like, all right, the best thing for an artist is to get freedom. Because whatever's inside of him artistically is going to just come out the way that it is. You have to let it be. If somebody is painting something, I don't need no moron hovering around him in circles, looking at him like some mob authority. It's like, you're disturbing his piece of it. Get the hell out of the room, idiot. He don't need you. If I'm sitting here writing poetry, I don't need you hovering over me. As a matter of fact, you're interfering with my natural flow. If I'm trying to relax in the water, or if somebody's just swimming around you 24/7, you say you want to relax, man, get the hell away from me. Because it's that relaxation. When you're flowing, you see what I mean? You're one with it. There's no enforcement. There's no political enforcement. There's none of that. That is killing the artistry. So when you come in saying, I'm putting this profit over you, you got this deadline, you better do this. That's not art. That's not development. That's not creation. That's enforcement. That's authority. That's tyrannical. Because it's like you're interfering with the natural artistry. You're trying to enforce a narrative. You're trying to enforce a certain way so that you can get it out and get your money. And you're making art too business oriented, where it's like business should handle its deal when art is done with its deal. You see what I mean? Imagine somebody painting. He doesn't need you in the room. Unless he's trying to get an inspiration, what you say, sit right there. Okay, I'm looking at you, but you're letting it happen naturally. You can't force what's inside. You know what I mean? Because it's like outside, it's like, yeah, and that's the problem with this industry. You see a lot of that going on. Then you see AI trying to take that position. It's like, but once again, AI has no natural artistry inside of it. It has no soul. It has none of that going on. So it's like the best thing for a developer to have is freedom and space and no enforcements whatsoever. It must naturally come out as it is. And that's the problem with this upside down and backwards evil industry, is that it flips that to where the suit is having more powerful than a developer and a content creator, in the sort of sense where it's like, but you're not creating anything. You're an empty parasite. A lot of them, unless they know how to sync together. And they're taking that and they're dumping it off when they're done with it and taking the money. And it's like, oh, that's devilry. That is not how this universe actually works organically upside right. And that's the problem, because that is just too much everywhere. And that's why gaming is being affected big time because of that. Same thing with politics coming into gaming. It's like, what the hell? No, you see what I mean? Because that's like enforcing tyrannical energy into the artist field. Big mistake.
Constant bangers for years. Very strange. The original promise of a lot of these Xbox acquisitions, especially with Bethesda and stuff, is that all these people said, oh, now we can do what we want. We don't have to think about tax brackets. We don't have to worry about the investors. We don't have to worry about marketing. We just make the game. Yeah. And what comes out of that? Stuff like Starfield, stuff like Hellblade, games that are not bad necessarily, but they're not great. They're all 6 out of 10s.
Yeah.
And I feel like all these 6 out of 10s back to back to back is not just devaluing the brand of these studios. I feel like it's just making people realize maybe these people do need management. Maybe they do need Xbox to come in there, or Sony to come in there, or somebody to come in there and say, yo, why aren't these games fun? You know? But this is over on the Xbox Reddit, and this is another one that a lot of people are talking about. The graph paints a bad picture for Xbox. Yikes. Now, we're going to get into this comment for a second. This, to me, the whole article is crazy, but gosh, this to me is the wildest thing. Sinking to the bottom with Xbox. Microsoft's gaming revenue year over year. Oh my gosh. This is so bad. So this is essentially starting, this is the last 3 years. So basically midway through this generation, right? You know, we're 6 years since the Xbox Series X. This starts 3 years.
How does it get worse when you spend over $100 million to get all those studios with Activision, Bethesda, and all that? See what I mean? There's something wrong here, like a curse. It's lingering from somewhere. It's just terrible karma.
into the Xbox Series X, and you can see it just goes to 13% revenue, -3 there, all the way down here to -30% here for Xbox physicals, -62%, or sorry, +62% profitability. Look, even when they are selling games, even when they are managed to do stuff, this is when they had a good selling Call of Duty, watch it just drop off a cliff. Look at this. -30% on console sales, -25% on console sales, and finally, -5% on games, -32% on consoles. There really is no positive way to spin this. I mean, this is just bad. This is end of Xbox bad, right? And people are pointing it out. That graph paints a bad picture for Xbox. Yikes. It's been pretty clear Microsoft is trying to kill the brand. Rumors of the next console being $1,200 and the fact that the current console is far more expensive than it was at release, kneecapping major IPs associated with the brand. It'll be interesting to see how Fable and Gears of War do. And it seems like right now, as a return to form, but it's all BS till we play it. Now, I do want to quickly say, it's interesting, the excitement for Fable specifically, I have a lot of people that aren't really gamers in my life, right? I got a lot of friends that are like more movie buffs or, I don't know, like reality TV and sports and stuff, right? And it's...
So after this, he pretty much kind of finishes that type of stuff just on this thread. And, I mean, guys, that graph tells you everything. It's what I was saying, like, that's not good. That's going to make somebody want to avoid you. And I've said that for a while. Afterward, I was just like, nah, avoid making any deals with Microsoft because it's like a curse. Everything just gets worse in reverse. So you guys kind of get what I'm saying here. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. It's just more bad news for this company. I mean, they're just on a tear lately, them and NVIDIA. So, I mean, I hate to cover it like this, you know what I mean? Because I would want to see the Xbox brand do better. But that's not the case here, guys. Hang in there if you're in the Xbox world. I'm sorry, I know it sucks, but if you're enjoying gaming, hey, enjoy it as long as you can, as long as the brand is up. That's the best thing I could say. Later, y'all.